Good afternoon, everyone. You're all very welcome along. Those that don't know me, my name is Stephen Kelly. I'm Chief Executive of Manufacturing Northern Ireland. You're very welcome to this afternoon session, which is on inclusive employment in manufacturing and about building a future that works for everybody. I'm very pleased to say that I'm joined today by Hanna from the Now Group, Lindsay Colton from Terex, and Genevieve Martin from the JAQ Group. Apologies.
Oh, you're fine.
Today's webinar is about fair access to opportunities in our sector and what happens when we open the doors to a wider potential audience. When people with different strengths and backgrounds and ways of thinking can access good jobs, we don't just change those individuals' lives, but we also change the workplace for the better. Manufacturing NI has been working in partnership with the Now Group over the last couple of years, and it's been a great highlight of the work that we've been doing. They do incredible work, and increasingly with our manufacturing community here in the north. That's really about trying to get businesses to think differently about the roles and how they fill those roles within manufacturing, and about how we diversify the talent that we have within our businesses and what we need to do to nurture that talent. In 2024, the Now Group has helped over 400 people into sustainable employment, including 138 of those roles within manufacturing, with 93% of those people still in work after 6 months. So it's a significant impact that they're having on the people that they work with and also the employers that they work alongside. Behind those numbers, obviously, are more diverse teams, there's stronger workplace cultures, and new ideas that are coming into the businesses. Before we start, I just want to briefly introduce our speakers for today. First, we've Hanna, who's the Chief Services Officer for Now Group. Sean leads Now Group's services across the island of Ireland and works with employers to create fair, sustainable routes into work for neurodivergent people and those with learning difficulties. Next, we have Lindsay Colton, who's the Digital Transformation Manager at Terex, one of Northern Ireland's largest employers. Lindsay has over 20 years' experience in manufacturing and now leads the digital transformation project across their 18 global sites. She's a very strong champion of inclusive, diverse teams and how they can innovate and adapt. And finally, Genevieve Martin, Head of HR at the JAQ Group. Genevieve leads HR across the group, who are a perfume manufacturer and fulfillment operation, and brings hands-on experience of building people, providing that practical support and concentrating on inclusion and retention. We're recording today's session, and we will share the recording and all the slides after the event through our usual channels. Do take the opportunity to ask your own questions. We have a Q&A function and we have a chat function. Please ask those questions on there, and as we go through our panel session a little later, I'll make sure that those questions are put to our panelists. To kick off, I'm going to hand over to Sean, who has some slides for us to give us some context, and then we'll have that panel discussion alongside Lindsay and Genevieve. Hopefully you find this useful, hopefully you find this informative, and hopefully what you hear today will help you in terms of your journey, in terms of nurturing the staff that you have within your business. Sean, I'll hand over to yourself and then we'll come back to you with a Q&A just after that presentation.
Thanks, Stephen. Appreciate it. Thank you. Afternoon, folks. My name is Hanna. I'm Chief Service Officer at Now Group. I've been with Now Group for almost 10 years. Previous to joining Now Group, I worked in private sector recruitment. So my background is within the recruitment industry. I always put out a bit of a disclaimer when I'm presenting. Before joining Now Group, I didn't know anyone with a disability in my personal or professional life. Joining Now Group was due to a coincidental meeting with our CEO, Mia Monaghan, at an event, and I was truly inspired of the thought of working for a social enterprise. The buyer for me joining the business was that I didn't have any experience in the disability field. We had an open conversation with Maeve and about joining, and I was given all the relevant training and knowledge base. And through my 10 years, I've done various courses and sit on various boards and various forums. I'd like to kind of put that out, so if there's anyone thinking about recruiting anyone who has a learning difficulty, intellectual disability, neurodiverse condition, that You can start today, just like I did 10 years ago. I'm going to take you through that. Bit about Now Group. We were founded by our current CEO 25 years ago, and we were initially a Belfast-based organisation then. So our name actually stands for Northwest Opportunities because initially when we have founded the business, we were only allowed to operate in North and West Belfast due to funding constraints that we had. Fast forward 25 years, and we're fully operational across Northern Ireland and 8 counties in the Republic of Ireland also. So there's been significant scale and growth. Takes a bit of a presentation about ourselves, the organisation. So our core mission, like every business, and like many of you on the call, you work to a strategy. Same with Now Group. We're currently in year 2 of our 3-year strategy. So when we sat down and built our strategy, our mission was to support 6,000 people right across the island of Ireland who had a learning difficulty, autism, neurodivergent condition, and progress a minimum of 1,200 of those individuals into jobs of the future. So what is a job of the future? A job of the future is looking at sustainability. So not quick fixes, not 0-hour contracts, but looking for opportunities where we can progress individuals into paid employment capacity roles where they can continue to build upon their career. We work across a range of strategic priorities, and you'll see again from the brands that are underneath that. But our priority is to deliver a world-class customer experience that really focuses on how you make people feel. So whether that be engaging with an Our Group staff member like myself, or whether you visit one of our loaf cafes for a cup of coffee, or whether you're a Jam Card friendly business or a Jam Card user, you get that world-class touch point and that really good quality of provision. Like every business, again, we want to grow and use new technology and the geographic expansion. The big buzzword at the minute is AI. It's similar to Now Group as well. We're looking at how we're embedding that into our organization from a staffing point of view, but again, to also enhance participant experience as well. We also look at our environmental goals to the organization, and our United Nations SDG goals also, so they'd be high on our agenda as we're all set out to make impact. Across the brands, we're probably best known for Jam Card, if I'm honest, although I work on the Now Group provision, but a lot of people would be familiar with Jam Card. Across the island of Ireland, there's 200,000 Jam Card users and 3,000 Jam Card friendly businesses. So the biggest ones would be the likes of TransLink. So if anyone is getting to and from work by bus, train, those train conductors, those bus drivers are all Jam Card trained, so they can give a really good quality of provision. Jam Card stands for just a minute. And what that does, it allows our participant cohort to ask for a minute of patience when accessing services, customer-facing services, amenities, shops, etc. Allows our guys to take that moment to articulate what they want, communicate effectively, and maybe sort change and cash on payment. Working right across our brands, we have over 170 staff. So reporting to myself on the Now Group brand, there's 123 of us in total. They're working across the island of Ireland, supporting individuals into paid employment. We have 7 cafes, again, across the island of Ireland. 6 of those are in Northern Ireland, and 1 is in Dublin at Kilmainham. And we also have a pottery, which is located in Crawfordsburn, which some of you may have been to or purchased some of our mugs and range of different pottery gifts. We also have Gauge Impact, which is another part of the Now Group family. It's a community interest company, so it measures your social return on investment. So basically, how big was the bang for the buck, if you like, and it's something that we would drill down as well. So our value base, like every organization, we have set values that we look for. And certainly from our point of view as an organization, when we're looking to collaborate with businesses, we look for synergies, we look for value-aligned companies, and ultimately for us, these are the key areas that we look for. Is taking that courage to step into the partnership, explore the partnership, start at the beginning. We all take accountability for our part to play within that. And ultimately for us, it's about impact. It's about changing lives. And I suppose for me, we're relentless in our approach to that. We'll work this year in excess of 200 or 2,000 individuals. I forecast to our board of trustees, we probably work with around 3,000 adults this financial year. So there's a lot to be done, but we recognise that we can't do it alone, and we do need to work in collaboration with a range of organisations. So I suppose looking at the job front and the inclusive recruitment format, so a lot of people are saying, well, how does it actually work? How do you get participants? How do people come to you, Sean? We get participants from every walk of life. And this is what you would see as a supported employment model. So this is the Now Group way of operating. So we'd be the largest provider of service provision for people with disabilities in Northern Ireland. And this is the model that we use. So we would go out, recruit individuals, and we use a range of methods to do that. What I would say is a lot of our guys are self-referrals. So a lot of participants that join our provision are referred in themselves. So we spend a lot of time on our social platforms. So we're big on Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook, etc. We use promoted ads. We try and gather a bit of traction to get people to recognize that we're here and we're available, and there is help and support. A lot of our participants, around 80%, would have gone to mainstream provision at school, where they wouldn't have had specialism support. So a lot of people maybe have neurodivergent condition would have went to secondary school, grammar school, for example, wouldn't have got the right support, and therefore wouldn't have performed the capability or capacity levels during exams. Therefore left at the end with limited opportunities in terms of, moving to college, moving to university, moving into paid job. So a lot of our guys come to us for the additional support that they need. And what we do then is when people sign up their programs, we look at the range of profile setting that we do. So we look at vocational profiling. We use a range of online software tools like Outcome Star, which allows us to set action plans and goals. Now, just to caveat that slightly, what I would say is, the 2,000 people we have on our books at the moment come from all walks of life. Some people walk in our door and sign up to programs with no qualifications, no experience. Other individuals come into our building who have just graduated from like Queen's, who have PhDs, masters, various degrees. So it is a scale of people who utilize our service. And it's important that we do recognize that. But what we do with all our individuals is we profile. So we look at where people are in their journey. And I suppose for us, we look at a landscape of Northern Ireland as a Giant's Causeway. And for me, it's a good way to think about participants that sign up to our programs. So you imagine there's all different blocks. Some people come to us and they're on the bottom block and they're drowning and they need provision, they need support. They have low levels of self-esteem, confidence, motivation. They can't see a career ahead of them. And their intensive support is needed. Their journey is longer. Some people join and they're almost at the peak and they need maybe a short-term intervention. Maybe would be opening a door to an employer, interview preparation, links in the industry like manufacturing. And then what we do is we face any job match with a range of different employers. So our ultimate goal is to train individuals and progress people into paid employment. But one of the key bits of the model is around sustainment. So we recognize that getting someone a job for us as in the recruitment world is relatively easy. What we want to do is make sure that that is sustained. So therefore, we want to make sure that all businesses that utilize the service, their productivity and performance has an increase, doesn't have a drain on your resource, and the participants have that opportunity to thrive when they're in job, and they can start to look at, can they do increased hours? Can they take on further responsibility? Can they look at promotions? Can they move within the sector, etc.? We do a range of academy training they touched on. So what we kind of do is, my job ultimately is looking at labour market intelligence and working with a range of employers. So what I'll do is we'll have a book of 2,000 individuals. We'll scan that down to a RAG rating. So it's red, amber, green, here's job ready. And then what we look around is academy training across a range of areas. You can see on the screen, but the ones that we highlight closely would be warehouse, production, manufacturing would be a big one for us, and it's led to 138 jobs within the last financial year. So how the academy training works is it's a 12-week relevant OCN recognized qualification that is delivered at GCSE level. So the guys do 12 weeks in a classroom. And what we do is we find suitable employers where we find 12 weeks work placement opportunities. And what we do then is we take the theory and the practical learning methodology, we combine those. So what we're doing is we're equipping our individuals to move into paid employment with a range of organizations. The academy model is hugely successful. So with the 400 jobs, you'd see 75% of those coming through our academy training. As well as doing the formalized training, we do a lot of pre-employment work with the guys. So it's effective communication skills, using your initiative, workplace etiquette, workplace behavior, diversity in the workplace, and really equipping our guys when they step in the door of your business or any employer, that we give them the best opportunity to thrive and give the best version of themselves. So it's an academy that we have in action. I've used Loaf, which is obviously our brand, and we do that from a lot of catering and hospitality, but it's just to paint a picture which could happen to one of your businesses today. So how Academy works for us is we would recruit 10, 12 individuals They would do the qualification in the classroom-based activity with themselves. And you see in this instance, they would do a practical work placement at Loaf. They gain the qualification, the industry standards, and then what we do is we face any job match with an employer in a partnership, and that leads to paid employment. And we do that across, as I said, a range of opportunities. One of the things we like to mention is all our academies are bespoke as well. So we do training with organizations. So if your organization operates in a particular way, we can adapt and move our academies to suit as well. You see there you have the wraparound support from one of our cafes and then participants as well. So again, just to set a scene, give you the confidence that we, as an organization, we do understand what we're doing. We do quite well. Our performance is significantly high, and we do get a lot of European recognition for our programs. So at the minute, we have 2,000 participants on our books. We're about to hit 500 jobs, which is a major milestone for us. Now, out of the 2,000 participants, 850 are on our employability program. So one of the things that I haven't mentioned yet is at Nugget we have 27 different projects, but our main flagship program has 850 individuals looking for paid work. And to move 500 of those into paid employment at the moment is fantastic. So that works with 59%, 60% success rate for us, which is great. But as Stephen's mentioned, one of our highlighted stats is our retention of job. Again, it sits at 93%. And you'll see if you go back a few slides of mine there, you'll see the sustainment block in the participant journey. That is key to retention. So when someone starts a job, we will stay in that relationship for a minimum of 12 months. And that's now being the bridge between the employer and the employee. So we help right from the point of recruitment, various methods of recruitment, right through the transition into employment. And then we'll put a bit of job coaching, mentoring in to make sure that there is no teething issues and that transition is smooth for both parties. Again, we're always there to recommend accommodations, reasonable adjustments, and mediate if we ever need to. One of the things I would like to mention at this point as well is, whilst we do help people find employment, we also currently support 818 people here in work. So if you do have anyone who is currently working in your organization who does have a learning difficulty, a learning disability, neurodivergent condition, who may need support, you can avail of free support from ourselves at our group, so we can set that up for you straight away and get going. And that could be anyone who you've noticed maybe certain trigger points throughout the year, someone who has long-term absences due to sickness, or someone who you do feel needs additional support in order to perform in their role. Again, qualifications is huge for us. As I said, a lot of our guys arrive at our door and do need to go back and do their literacy, numeracy, ICT, their essential skills qualifications alongside relevant occupational qualifications and industry-led qualifications like we've just touched on. Again, like a lot of colleges, we do an annual graduation. We do two. We do one in Belfast City Hall, which sees around 600, 700 individuals come and get their formal qualification, get an opportunity to gown up. And then we do the same in Dublin City Hall, where we just seen 180 of our participants graduate there as well. So it's important that we recognise the successes of our participants, and we do also have partner recognition at those events as well. We have the participants, as I've mentioned numerous times. We have the 2,000 guys on our books. What I would say about our group is our staff is our biggest asset. We have incredible staff who are dedicated to the movement that we've created. But what we recognize is we need employers and we need partners to make this work happen. And we refer to as a social value partner. So built into our strategy, what we want to look for was leading businesses across Northern Ireland, Republic of Ireland, who would share synergies, our value base, who are interested in becoming inclusive and diverse. Because it's not only the right thing to do, but obviously it makes good business sense. So the way I look at this is I'm sitting on a world of untapped talent with 2,000 individuals who are chomping at the bit for an opportunity. Many organizations have skill shortages, and what we're doing is we're training the guys about industry-led qualifications in order to take those jobs. So I suppose we look for strategic partners, really. To be a strategic partner in our group, there's areas of the business you need to sort of collaborate with. First things, offering job opportunities for participants if possible, and that could be work placements, paid outcomes. Second part is becoming a jam card friendly business, which means that 75% of your staff have done an e-learning module, which takes around 12-15 minutes to do online, so it's not time consuming, but it focuses on disability awareness and disability inclusion within the workplace. And also, to be a strategic partner, we asked that if you could put Loaf in your corporate supply chain, whether that be loaf catering for your lunches, or whether gifting pottery or doing pro bono support. Again, we recognise that a lot of organisations have considerable expertise, and could that be beneficial to our group? One of the other elements of the work we do is sponsorship, which we have some organisations on the call today who do a lot with themselves around sponsorship as well. But again, around the jobs section, what we look for to be a job partner in our group is at least 4 paid jobs per year. So in essence, 1 a quarter. We've got the individuals, and what we look for then is partners who have skill shortages, and how then we can work in collaboration in order to increase your productivity and your performance, but also create an opportunity for people who are currently unemployed and out of work. We have a couple of examples here that we like to share. Whilst this is little, which is retail, not in manufacturing, I may add, but just one of the ones we highlighted, we do recruit for all 46 little stores in Northern Ireland and all 171 stores in the south as well. So again, collaborative work. It's just an opportunity for us to showcase some real life case studies and testimonials that we do a lot with recruitment. We have Terex on the call, so we have Lindsay here as well. And Terex do a considerable lot with Now Group and are one of our prime strategic partners. So again, Terex is a jam card friendly business. They recruit our participants when there's opportunities that come up, and they've also raised considerable amount of funding for Now Group. As a social enterprise with charity status, we do rely heavily on funding to keep the dial moving. So Terex have done considerable fundraising for ourselves as well. As mentioned, we have Jack Group on the call, and Genevieve is here. Jack Group have done a considerable amount of work with themselves. I know Connor Martin, the CEO, founded the business, I think, almost 6-7 years ago. Connor has actively recruited over 20 individuals from ourselves. Jack Group is also a jam card friendly business, and Connor does a lot around pro bono and sponsorship support at Jack Group as well. So partnerships that work really in collaboration. And I suppose for us, these are examples of organizations that are in the heart of town, cities and communities, and are really thriving. I know Terex is a pillar for the western area of Northern Ireland, and create great opportunities and do a lot of community engagement. I know Jack Group is quite a cool and hip brand, which a lot of our guys take a lot of pride and pleasure working in. So again, we're creating opportunities with really reputable organizations who want to do good within the community, who want to create opportunities. Well, what I would say about both organizations on the call is they recognize they had a skill shortage, and they reached out and they were tapping into a world of talent that has enhanced their productivity and performance. So what I would ask today is, I suppose the call to action is, if you have skill shortages, if you want to explore how to make this work, start today, reach out. My opening sort of statement today was 10 years ago, I didn't know anyone with a disability. Now I know thousands of people, but I've also seen and witnessed the benefits that individuals can have in your organization and what part they have to play within their communities, their towns, their cities, and importantly, the workplace. So while you're thinking, I've never done it before, I welcome the opportunity to have a conversation and scope out sort of how this works, how this would look for your business. And there's no time like the present to get going. If you scan the QR code, that takes you to my contact details on a landing page. If you're not able to do that, you can go on to nowgroup.org and you can reach out to a range of staff members. When you can see there's a business solutions section on our website as well, where you'll be able to see how Jam can be involved in your business, how Love can be involved in your business, and ultimately how you can utilize Now Group services. So that's myself. I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm happy to have any questions from yourself, Stephen, or any of the audience.
Sean, happy for you to keep that QR code on the screen if you wanted to, just so people can click directly to it as we have our conversation. And just to say a couple of things, I suppose. I mean, a great presentation to begin with, in terms of just the impact in which the Now Group's making on individuals, but also on businesses themselves, not just here but across the island. And secondly, to say, I am a purchaser of your pottery product. The mugs are pride of place in our cupboard, and we use them frequently, and they're a great product. So it's not just about, it's not, you're a manufacturer yourselves, and
Yes.
you're producing a great product that customers are really enjoying. So if people don't do anything, if they do just that one thing, just buy some of your catering products or some of your cutlery or your pottery products, sorry, that would be a good place to start. But thanks for that. We'll bring you back in the conversation in a second as well. But I just wanted to introduce for the kind of panel discussion for the next 30 minutes or so, Lindsay and Genevieve, and maybe start with yourself, Lindsay. If you just kind of introduce yourself, what you do and what your organisation is.
Thanks, Stephen. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. As the team have already said, I'm Lindsay Colton. I lead digital transformation for the Terex material processing segment. So Terex is a global manufacturer. We have 18 manufacturing sites around the world, and we actually have 7 in or on the island of Ireland, 6 of which are in the north of Ireland, and we have some other business service locations in Northern Ireland as well. So we have around 3,000 team members in the north of Ireland, and a couple of hundred in the UK and the Republic of Ireland as well. And as I say, obviously we're a global manufacturer of quarrying and mining equipment. We manufacture cement trucks, concrete pavers, so a whole range of different like heavy manufacturing around the world. So that's who I am and what we do, and we have been actively engaged with the Now Group. We've been a strategic partner for the last 3 years, and probably the year prior to that we were also engaged with them in trying to help us in our culture and inclusion journey, and looking at what we could do and how they could support us. And then that's obviously what led to the strategic partnership.
Thanks, Genevieve. Lindsay, before I bring Genevieve in, I mean, for a big organisation like Terex that has a huge impact in Northern Ireland, obviously, I mean, why is this important to you? I mean, why is inclusivity important to your business? Is it just about bottom line? Is it just about meeting the skills or labour demand, or does it mean more than that for an organisation like Terex?
I think for any organization, Stephen, it's really multifaceted. You know, it's not just one. There's not just one reason to do this. You know, obviously, you know, Sean talked about synergies, and when we look at our values as an organization, you know, they perfectly align with the values that Sean shared there at the Now Group. And there's actually some, you know, crossover. Courage is one of their values. It's one of our values. You know, that citizenship and, you know, servant leadership are some of our values as well, and our mission to improve the lives of people around the world really align with what Now Group are doing. So we saw good synergies there, but you know, so that's a reason to do it from the get-go. But you know, when you look at the statistics around what having a diverse workforce brings to your business in terms of increased innovation, you know, it's a no-brainer that you want lots of different voices at the table, you know, be it, you know, male, female, these, you know, so be it gender, be it age, be it neurodiversity. Having a diverse workforce makes you more successful as a business. And obviously we do all work for businesses. The bottom line is important, but it also improves morale. You know, having that diversity in the workforce. You know, Sean and yourself both talked about the retention thing. You know, we're all looking to recruit team members that will stay with us. You know, there's nothing worse than training people up to see them leave your business. So, you know, having that aspect with, you know, team members who have a neurodiversity, again, is a no-brainer for the business. If you get good people in who are loyal and who will stay, you know, that's something that you can really capitalize on. And obviously, you know, the skills shortage, I think, is something that is, you know, high on the agenda for the majority of manufacturers, if not all manufacturers in Northern Ireland. We know there is a skills shortage. We know we have an aging workforce. That is a challenge for everyone. And when you look at the number of neurodiverse people, you know, in Northern Ireland who are struggling to get recruitment, be it just the barrier of the interview or whatever it might be, again, it's a no-brainer to say, right, well, how can we tap in to that resource, because these people have skills and capabilities that will really add value to our business. So, you know, we need to be understanding how we can change and adapt to make sure that we are attracting the best talent and opening the doors for everyone.
And I think that so Sean mentioned Maeve Monaghan, the chief executive of the Now Group, and Maeve came and spoke at our leadership summit, and she said that I think it was 1 in 5 of the population have some level of neurodivergence. I would argue that in manufacturing it's probably closer to 1 in 2, and given the kind of nature of the types of jobs that people are involved in, this solution-driven approach that they have, they're running towards problems with creativity and ideas, particularly skilled in and around engineering, etc., etc., etc. I think it's a larger proportion of us, and it just seems silly not to try to kind of engage in a way, particularly whenever there's so much support from the likes of Sean and his colleagues to actually do that mentoring piece and sit alongside and work with the business about how you make that an inclusive workforce. Thanks, Phil. I'll come back to you again in a second. But Genevieve, obviously, Jack Group are homegrown. They're an exciting young business, huge growth already so far, and huge potential as well. Can you just kind of give us a bit of a background about you and the business and why you've got involved with the Now Group?
Yeah, certainly, Stephen. So, I'm Genevieve Martin. I'm head of HR here at the Jack Group. So I'm here 2.5 years. We've been operating for 7. So we're just based outside Randallstown. We actually have 230 employees, and it did start off as Connor's spare room, who's our managing director, and it just started off as a hobby, and it just grew and very, very fast paced. And you know, with massive growth, you're always trying to get just not your tick boxes. You're trying to say, right, well, look, this is our initiative. How are we doing it? And that's where Now Group have been a great partner for us. And we are one of the strategic partners. So basically what that means is that we're very welcoming. We're wanting to hire people, you know, that do have neurodiverse conditions, and integrate them into our workforce. And as Sean mentioned there, you know, we are very a funky kind of place to work. You know, I came from a manufacturing background, and when I came here, it was very, very different. But different's good. You know, different isn't a bad thing. You know, it's very much a positive. And we have kind of a massive range of, you know, different abilities, different backgrounds working for us, and massively growing as well. And another thing then that we developed after doing the work placements, which Sean touched on, was becoming then a jam card partner, and that initiative has been great. And from that, we've really noticed a massive change in our workforce. And I very much agree, Stephen, with what you said. That was one of the points that I had, that you know, people do fill out the paperwork before starting, and sometimes people shy away from saying, look, I do have a neurodiverse condition. They're not wanting to disclose it, which is a real shame. I think from doing that training, people have come forward and said, look, that's me as well, or that's something that I can relate to. Or there's people that's actually came, we have healthcare for the employees, and said, look, am I able to get tested for ADHD? I think I'm potentially dyslexic. So a lot more questions has come off the back of that as well. So we've seen it as really, really positive for our workforce.
And Genevieve, obviously you've worked in other types of industries, in other manufacturing facilities, obviously. I mean, there's obviously a concern. Sorry, there's not obviously a concern. There could be a concern among some employers there that this all sounds tricky and difficult, etc., etc., etc. But from what I've heard from yourself and Lindsay so far, is it's actually been quite the opposite. This has been something hugely valuable within your business. And is that because of the support you've been getting from Sean and his colleagues, or is that because you've just gone into this really open-minded around trying to make sure that you get the best people to do really good work for you?
Both. I feel like our MD Connor Martin, he's very much, you know, from the start, he's been very welcoming of the idea. You know, he's had the team in long before I started, you know, and had meetings, and he's had facilitated loads of work placements. And from that, you know, then basically the relationship has blossomed. And really as well as having the work placements, is the retention of trying to keep the employees. And as you've mentioned as well, Stephen, about, you know, a lot of the people, they come in, they're really creative. Majority of the placements we've had is in dispatch, and we know straight away a lot of neurodiverse people, their attention to detail is fantastic. There isn't as many quality issues, so it has been fantastic for our business. And the employment officers have been great, because they have been able to send CVs through to our recruitment manager, but they are already doing kind of the background work. So they're thinking, right, was this person suited to this environment? You know, we can be quite fast paced, and sometimes that can scare certain people off, but we can also facilitate, you know, like a quieter area, and we let our employees have their headphones in, you know, when they're packing orders. So things like that, well, that's it, the candidate they're sending to our workplace. From that, then when we invite them in for the interview, you know, we let the employment officer be there as support to facilitate for the employee, and it's a familiar face as well. And if the employee is successful and they come on board, the employment officer then will come in. Some people have had the employment officer come in and do a monthly touch-up meeting. So potentially maybe the candidate isn't wanting to say something directly to their line manager. That's their opportunity then to bring it up through their employment officer. One good example being there was an employee, and as we were growing, she was finding it very, very difficult basically coming in at the same time as everyone else. There's a main entrance, everyone comes in, they're all queuing up to clock in, and she just found that overwhelming. So a reasonable adjustment we were able to put in place is we changed that employee start time by 15 minutes, and that had a massive impact. Again, that's because she was happy to speak to her employment officer. We very much have an open door policy, you know, with our line managers and within the HR department, but the employment officers working in the background is fantastic for the person that's in place, that's creating or that's on the scheme. But it's also great for us as well, because we can go to them and say, you know, how is Bob getting on? You know, so works great both ways.
So it's more than just recruiting or employing one person. You actually have a whole support team there in the background, which is great. It means you have a smaller HR department, I guess, but it means that you have that
well,
level
that's the thing,
of support alongside.
We'll welcome all the help, and you know, we've also went to training sessions as well. We've got to network with other businesses that are we've been able to get really good ideas from them as well. So there is kind of like a community around it as well.
Right, and Lindsay, obviously, being a smaller organization can be more agile on its toes and make decisions really easily, and perhaps even on a whim for that matter. But obviously with a globally trading business, it has responsibilities to the stock market and boards of directors all over the world, et cetera, et cetera. There's a different kind of culture there that in your organization. But I mean, for you, how easy was it to kind of get this going? And it can't all be rosy. I mean, what were the kind of challenges that Terex faced?
Well, I think for us, you know, this partnership that we have with the Now Group came out of an event that we ran on OMA site as part of our commitment and our citizenship values. We do try and help support our local communities where we operate. You know, that's very much something that all our facilities look to do. And one of the teams within the site had one of the Now Group community groups come in to do a site visit and a site tour, and really just show the participants around, explain to them what we did. We did a little activity with them where they, you know, they put together some parts and actually built something. And out of that visit, one of the participants who actually took part in that way back in 2020 came away from that saying, you know, wow, that's somewhere I would really like to work. And, you know, that participant really followed up on that and came back to us and said, you know, through the Now Group, you know, with the help and support of the employment officers there, is there any chance that I could do a placement at Terex? Is somewhere that I would love to work, et cetera, et cetera. So we went through that process with that participant, and you know, that participant is still an employee today. So at the end of their placement, they were actually offered a contract with ourselves, and that's actually the lovely photograph that Sean shared. And you know what, that then really opened our eyes to the potential and I suppose maybe what we were missing by maybe not looking at what we could gain from a partnership with someone like the Now Group, and what they could offer us in terms of help and support and helping us deliver on our culture and inclusion roadmap and commitments. Again, as a global organization, all those targets and objectives are there, and you know, sometimes you do need to partner with experts in the field to be able to deliver, be it technology, be it digital, be it, diversity and inclusion. So it really wasn't a hard sell, I suppose, Stephen, is what I'm saying. We had such success from what was one site tour, the eagerness of that participant, the value that they added to the business, the drive and the commitment, and the courage, the integrity, all of our values were there in that person, and the value that they added to our business. It wasn't a hard sell to say, this is something that we should do, and we really can see the value that the Now Group can add to our business. And it has really helped us. We are obviously a jam card friendly business. All of our team members in Northern Ireland are jam trained, and that's something that we commit to and that we refresh every year. And we were delighted at the start of last year to see the Now Group kind of piggyback on what was our January initiative from 2023. So or 2024, we launched January, where in the month of January we ensured that all of our team members were jam trained, and that really helps get that culture in place. No, we're not working with the public, we're not a service sector, but everyone you work with, be them neurodiverse or not, sometimes everyone just needs a minute. And when you work in fast-paced, heavy manufacturing where it can be noisy and very dynamic environments, sometimes people do just need a minute. So that training that we have there supports not just team members with neurodiversity, but everyone actually to be more successful and deliver on what they do. I know that's something that we now do on an annual basis. In January, we run our January campaigns to ensure that everyone on our sites is trained, and that includes any contractors that would be on our sites as well. So people in our canteen, for example, servicing our sites that way. So yeah, here it was an easy sell, and we have definitely reaped the benefits from that, the awareness and having our name out there as well, that we are a jam friendly business, opens up the door to, yes, we work with the recruitment officers and the teams in Now Group to try and bring in new talent, but there's lots of people out there who are neurodiverse who maybe don't need the same level of support, so don't need to engage with the Now Group, but because they can see that we're jam friendly, they're actually like, well, that's somewhere that I think I would like to go and work, because I can see that they have the right culture. And again, I think to Genevieve's point, and you talking about barriers to this and maybe people being apprehensive, you know what, you're probably already doing it today. And to your point, Stephen, 1 and 2, potentially in that manufacturing, having a neurodiversity, whether you realize it or not, you're recruiting them and you're managing them, and maybe you're not doing it to get the best for you or the best for that team member. If you're not partnering with someone in our group who can help raise awareness and help you understand and train your team members and your managers around best practice to get the best for the business and the best for the team members.
So this has had a real impact on team culture, clearly, and the investment that you're making in terms of that training, not just of colleagues, but of contractors and others that are coming to the site, is really important to you. And it seems to have changed the workplace quite significantly whenever colleagues go, listen, maybe just need a minute here, we're going to help you and support you. I mean, that seems like there's a big impact on the shop floor, in the offices, in the dispatch, whatever the location seems to be. So it's more than just simply trying to get headcount secured. It's actually about changing the entire business and the approach that you're taking to be an employer of choice in many respects.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to be the best place to work in our industry as deemed by our team members, and supporting them to be the best they can be at work is a big part of that, and being part of the Terex family. So we want everyone to feel valued. We want everyone to be heard. And the jam training has really helped us deliver on that. And we have really seen our team members embrace that and come forward with their own suggestions about how things that we can do to help improve the culture further, to drive more inclusion within the business. So yeah, absolutely. We have, in the last 3 years, we have seen a big change, and that through the work that we've done with the Now Group, the training and support that they have given our managers around recruitment and around managing team members with neurodiversity, and just having that out there our team understanding that, you know, as managers, as supervisors, as peers, that people are willing to give you that time and that respect, which again is one of our values, to be the best that you can be and to support you in achieving that.
And Genevieve, you're in the cut and thrust in the HR world of trying to meet supply with demand when it comes to manpower or woman power within your business. I mean, but how has this changed how, as a HR professional, how you recruit? Is the process adjusted in any way? There's obviously a wider market that you potentially tap into, but how has there been changes about how you go about doing your job, just in terms of getting people in and keeping them around you?
I think across the board, outside of this, recruitment's been tough for all industries. So I think everyone's kind of having to get their thinking hats on and think, right, how can we attract new talent? And as Sean has mentioned there's a massive pool that is essentially untouched. So, you know, we do have here all different genders, ages, religion, and, you know, the next thing is to get more neurodiverse people in. We've had a lot more placements. We are going to go through a massive phase of growth, which is fantastic because we manufacture 3 different perfume brands under the Jack Group. And then we also have our fulfillment side of the business as well. As I say, you know, to be able to put people into the manufacturing side and the dispatch is essentially what we want to be able to do. And really what the kind of key things that we have learned working with the Now Group is just being able to offer different approaches. So when we send our job descriptions across to the employment officers, for them to being able to say, you know, look, it might be easier for this person. We even know ourselves, you know, we all essentially have traits of, do we prefer to be a visual learner? You know, what's the best way for them to come in and do the interview? So one approach we started doing across the board, which was something we actually got from the Now Group, was printing off the questions. So when we ask the question, the candidate has it in front of them to refer to. As I say, having the employment officer there, having a friendly face. We've had in the past as well. You know, we kind of had a chat with the employee prior to them, or apologies, not the employee, the candidate, prior to coming in on site, and we kind of explained what we would talk to them about just to put them at ease. And I think as well, we're having to put, you know, very, very short synopsis of what the job is, because even ourselves, when there's too much writing, it puts you off. So, you know, we're trying to now cut to be as precise as possible. I think that's massively helped with our recruitment process.
And Sean, I mean, you've 2 great colleagues on the call here, and they found this incredibly successful and probably mission critical for them to get to do their jobs and to make their businesses a success. But not everybody starts out the right way when it comes to this stuff. I mean, if you kind of look at employers, and we heard there about how the engagement with yourself just changed the whole process around recruitment, simple things like printing out the questions, etc., etc., etc. I mean, where are people getting this wrong from the start, and how do you help them rethink this process?
I think employers often think the inclusion bit's just the hiring, and that's it, kind of done. It's like a tick box element of what we're opening our recruitment methods, but I think it's much more of a journey. It starts with maybe the awareness training or the designing of the role and supports that Jam Card can ultimately offer. But I work with participants day in, day out, but the way we look at things is we're participant led, but we're employer focused. We need to recognize the demands on the industry, on your organization, on the sector. We have to look at what you need from this. Where are your barriers? Where are your constraints? Where can we help? And that's ultimately what we really try and do is we sit down and we map out where we take this journey. So it's not a one size fits all approach. It's very individualized per organization. So we will have those conversations. We will look at, is it recruitment? Is it sustainment of staff? Is it certain departments? Is it maybe a new department? Maybe there's been a new contract and you need staff at pace. You know, there are different scenarios that we pick up. But my advice to anyone on the call and anyone who will watch this back is it's never too late to start. You can start now. You can start having that conversation. I mean, Working alongside myself at Now Group, we have 36 dedicated employment officers who help source job opportunities. As well as that, we have 17 dedicated sustainment officers who help sustain that role. You're not on your own in this. We're there throughout the whole partnership, and that's what we look for. Again, I've talked about it previously, the synergies, the value line businesses, but that's what we want. We want success for your business. I want to see your business thrive. I want to see your productivity and performance increase, whilst they also want to see our individuals at Now Group have a great career, a great opportunity. And that's ultimately what I would look at what Now Group does. It opens doors, it creates opportunities for our participant cohort, but for businesses right across the island of Ireland. And I suppose, as I said, Stephen, it's about how do we start? How do we get going? How does the conversation start? And both Lindsay and Genevieve are brilliant advocates for work we do. And it's great for me to sit here very proud and listen to how that worked. And the guys are probably doing themselves a bit of injustice and not the right service, because it doesn't happen overnight. It does take a lot of conversations. It does take a lot of maybe meetings. It does take a lot of participants to get the right fit, to get the right way of working. But we've both helped each other on the journey, and I suppose that's what that open collaborative working is really good. But what I would say is there just needs to be a bit of patience, that we want to scope out how this works for our business, and how we embed it in. And as long as both organizations have got that in the forefront of their mind, then that's what we do. But I would encourage any organization, and we've talked about jobs and recruitment, but Jam Card I think is essential for every business. And the guys have touched on it, having that diverse, inclusive workforce. But there's 1 in 5 people who have neurodivergent condition in Northern Ireland. And I sit on the autism forum of the Strategy Act. That's going to come out that it's going to be less in terms of 1 in 4. And if you're not equipping your workforce for the next influx, and then the school leavers, the next generation, if you like, coming through, you're going to be left behind. And we can see that at the minute with just AI on its own. And I think for us, we're trying to support industries to get ready for the next intake of generation, and how we embed people into your organization, and how we can allow your organization to continue to thrive at a high level when maybe industries are getting it tight, or various sectors are getting it tight. But again, going back over, start the conversation. Let's see where it can go.
And I mean, those statistics are stark in one respect, in terms of kind of growing, perhaps, population of people with neurodivergency or neurodivergencies at various levels, but actually a better understanding about what it is, and we're probably getting better at diagnosing it. As employers, we have a responsibility to make sure that we understand that, so that we can meet people where they're at, not just ask them to meet us where we are at, particularly in a market that we essentially have full employment in Northern Ireland. We're not going to have a big influx of new young people. We have a migration regime which is probably a bit hostile at the moment, so we can't bring people necessarily from overseas. But a context for everybody, in the last number of decades, on average, about 80,000 net new people came into the workforce in Northern Ireland. So that's roughly about 8,000 new people over and above the people who were already there into the workforce. In this current decade, it's less than 2,000 in total, so it's less than 200 per year. And in the next decade, it goes down to minus numbers. So we've really got to assume that we're not going to be able to recruit anybody ever again, and adjust our businesses to ensure that we are an employer of choice in an increasingly competitive market, given that supply side. So I'm going to kind of wrap up in a second, but from you, I think the call to action was an easy one. Just start the conversation with us. But how should people do that? How do they get involved with either on the recruitment side, on the Jam Card side, on buying your pottery, whatever? What's the very first step people should be doing?
Again, the QR code will take you to my contact details. I'm happy to pick up on that and link in with the relevant representatives of our organisation. You can alternatively go to nowgroup.org, jamcard.org, or loafcatering.org. And you can see how those elements would fit into your business. One of the ones, called to action, it's that time of year. If you're looking for corporate gifting, our loaf pottery is a great option for you on that, and always goes down really well. But again, I can't advocate enough for Jam Card and how that sort of, Lindsay's touched on it there, what what that means to current employees as well. So, 1 in 5 people have a neurodiverse condition, soon to be potentially 1 in 4. That might not be that individual that is coming to work every day, but it might be a family member. It might be a friend. It might be a partner that has that neurodiverse condition. And when they see their employer doing something and making the workplace more inclusive and trying to change the dial, that means an awful lot to people. And that's where you get your culture piece from. And that is really, really important. And that changes. So again, I said, reach out. You scan the QR code. You can contact me. I'm on LinkedIn, Sean Hanna. You can reach out through that portal as well. As I said, on services, there's 123 of us, and we're usually about. So you can kind of find us online. Just have the conversation. And look, listen, I would be very open and honest, and we've had these conversations with the guys on the call and the likes of Little as well. I'm not here to say I'm going to get you 100 jobs and save your world. But what I can do is do 5, 10, 15, 20 really, really good caliber employees that will enhance your business and enhance your productivity and give people the right opportunity. And it's definitely worth tapping into.
And not only is pottery a good idea for Christmas, so is fragrances. And Genevieve, and Lindsay, I'll give you the last couple of words. But Genevieve, your business took the leap and it's been very successful. What's the last kind of very 10 seconds piece of advice you give to all our employers on the call?
Well, that's a hard one. There's just so much. I think just run with it. And I think, at the end of the day, as I mentioned, we are so fast moving. And sometimes you just need to take a minute and you just need to pause and say, right, what's the top 3 things to look at today, because there's just so much happening at once and it can be overwhelming. And if leadership are feeling it's overwhelming, so can the employees. So I think it's important sometimes just to take a pause and say, what's our top priorities for this week. We're in Black Friday at the minute, so we're very much feeling that in our industry, but it's all good fun.
And Lindsay, it's hard to gift a Terex machine as a Christmas gift, but people want to buy one. I'm sure you're welcome to that. But given your long-standing experience now of this, what advice would you give to all our employers online?
Yeah, I think I would echo what Sean says. Just start the conversation. Reach out to someone. You don't have to do it by yourself. The Now Group are experts in what they do, and they can really help and support and guide you through this journey. I've seen in the Q&A that someone maybe asked a question about how do you engage people. Those are challenges, and sometimes you do need help to answer those questions and some strategies. So reach out, speak to the Now Group, and they're able to help and guide and support. So yeah, just start the conversation. And yeah, if anybody wants a crusher or screener for Christmas, yeah, you can let me know.
No problem.
I'm sure it'll fit in your stocking or under the tree, but
may not fit in your street, never mind your sock. Genevieve, Lindsay, Sean, thanks so much. We will be sharing the recordings and others. I'm sure employers, if they wish to have a conversation with other employers, would be very happy to do that, and Sean can help facilitate that as well, just to kind of get into more kind of detail around the experiences. But we're very committed to this as an organization. It is a manufacturing community that we're incredibly proud of, and we want more people to come and join us. And we'd certainly encourage employers that at whatever level they can to engage with Sean and his colleagues. We've heard today just the extraordinary success that this has been for some of our employers, and hopefully there's more of that to come. Thanks very much for joining us this afternoon. Thanks to all our participants, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you.
Thanks.